You wake up and your bank app shows $365 billion. Not a glitch, not a dream. The balance has been verified by three separate institutions, and there is one condition attached to it. You must spend $1 million every single day for the next year. If even $1 remains at midnight on December 31st, you lose everything, not some of it, all of it. Every single cent reverts to zero. You have 365 days. You need to spend $365 million total. And right now, on day one, you open your phone and try to spend your first million. It takes 4 hours. That is the moment most people stop and realize something has gone wrong with their understanding of money. Day one. You are sitting in the most expensive suite at the most expensive hotel in your city. You have ordered everything on the menu. You have bought every item in the gift shop. You have tipped the staff more than most of them earn in a year. You have called a car dealership and bought 2 cars over the phone. You feel like a movie. The total so far is $340,000. You have 9 hours left in the day and $660,000 still to spend. You start calling jewelers. By 11 p.m., you have crossed the $1 million line. The day's total lands at $1,040,000. You are exhausted in a way that feels strange, a physical tiredness that has nothing to do with your body. You lie in the hotel suite surrounded by bags you haven't opened and receipts you haven't read, and you think, tomorrow will be easier. I know how to do this now. You do not know how to do this. Day two. You buy a private jet charter for the week. $280,000. You wire $200,000 to a luxury travel agency and book a suite in the Maldives 2 months out. You buy watches, 4 of them, each costing more than your parents earned in a decade. You walk into a gallery and buy a painting you don't understand because the price is right. By noon, you have spent $780,000. The day's target is hit by 3 p.m. You feel, for the first time, something that might generously be described as momentum. Day 7. You have a system now. In your first week, you have acquired 2 cars, a watch collection, a painting, a wardrobe worth $120,000, a week of private aviation, and deposits on a penthouse apartment in a vacation property in Southern Europe. Your total spend across 7 days is $7.2 million, which means $357.8 million still needs to leave your account in the next 358 days. You do the math. You are running exactly on pace, but the math is about to change in ways you are not prepared for, because you have run out of things you want. That sentence sounds absurd. You are aware of that. But here is what nobody tells you about extreme wealth. Desire is a surprisingly small room. Most of us live our entire lives believing that room is enormous, that if we just had more money, the room would keep expanding. What you discover by the end of week 2 is that the room has walls. You hit them faster than you expected. Day 14. You have now hired a financial advisor, 2 personal assistants, a lawyer, and a logistics coordinator specifically to help you spend the money. This is not a joke. Spending $1 million a day is a full-time management problem. Purchases above a certain threshold require contracts. Wire transfers above $10,000 trigger compliance reviews at the receiving bank. Luxury real estate operates on a timeline of weeks, not hours. You wire $2 million toward a property in Italy and are told the earliest the transaction can close is 6 weeks from now. The money technically has not left your account yet. You are starting to understand that the legal and financial architecture of large transactions was not designed for your timeline. Day 21. You have pivoted to philanthropy. You call a major hospital system and attempt to donate $5 million. They thank you warmly, explain their gift acceptance process, and tell you the formal paperwork will take 2 to 3 weeks to process. You call a university. Same story. You discover that most established institutions, the ones large enough to absorb the amounts you need to move, have bureaucratic intake process that exist precisely to slow down large donations and ensure compliance. You are sitting on $344 million, and the world is politely telling you it will get back to you. Day 30, 1 month in. You have spent $30.4 million. You are on pace, technically, but the experience of spending has undergone a complete psychological transformation. What began as euphoric is now administrative. You wake up every morning not with excitement, but with the same feeling a logistics manager has when reviewing a shipment manifest. Your assistants present you with a daily spend report. You approve line items, you sign transfers. Yesterday's million was split across a charitable pledge, a real estate deposit, a private dining experience for 12, and a cash gift to a cousin you haven't spoken to in 4 years. None of it felt like anything. This is the part of the story that the fantasy version leaves out. The fantasy version of extreme wealth is a highlight reel of acquisition. What the reality produces, somewhere around the 30-day mark, is a condition researchers actually have a name for. Hedonic adaptation, the psychological process by which an experience that once produced intense pleasure becomes normal, then neutral, then occasionally irritating. Your nervous system stops producing the chemical reward for the purchase because the purchase is no longer novel. You are spending $1 million a day and you feel nothing. Day 60, 2 months. You have now hired a full staff, 4 assistants, 2 accountants, a legal team on retainer, and a concierge service that specializes in ultra-high net worth logistics. The irony is not lost on you that you are spending, on the staff alone, approximately $180,000 per month, which helps with the daily quota, but only barely. You have purchased 2 properties that have not yet closed. You have $280,000 sitting in a pledge to a children's hospital that is still processing your paperwork. You have pre-booked a private yacht charter for $1.8 million that does not depart until April. The money is technically committed but not yet spent. Your lawyer is reviewing whether conditional commitments count toward your daily total. They do not. Day 90, 3 months. You have spent $97 million. The pace is holding, but the psychological toll has become something you think about seriously. You are not unhappy. That would be too dramatic. You are something more specific. You are bored by money in a way that feels structurally different from any boredom you have felt before. Money was always, in the background of your life, the variable that explained why you couldn't do certain things. Removing that variable does not produce freedom. It produces a strange, ambient meaninglessness. Every option is available. Every option costs the same thing, which is nothing. When everything is accessible, the process of choosing stops feeling like agency and starts feeling like an administrative task. You book a $400,000 trip to space. You sit with that for a moment. You book a $400,000 trip to space and feel roughly the same level of anticipation you used to feel booking a long weekend away. The proportions have shifted. Your nervous system has recalibrated to the new baseline, and the new baseline is extraordinary. Day 180, the halfway point. You have spent $183 million. You are exactly on pace. You feel nothing about this. Your daily briefing from your financial team has become indistinguishable from a utility bill review. You sign things. You approve things. Last Tuesday, you spent $1.2 million on a single day and cannot remember what most of it was without consulting the ledger. You check the ledger. A hotel stay, $18,000. A sculpture for the apartment, $340,000. A charitable gift, $500,000. Restaurant bookings for a dinner party, $24,000. Miscellaneous, $318,000. You read the word miscellaneous and realize you are generating a category called miscellaneous in your $1 million daily ledger because the individual line items have become too small to track meaningfully. Day 270, 9 months. You have $95 million left to spend. You are running slightly ahead of pace, which should feel like good news. It does not feel like anything. The space trip happened. It was extraordinary. You were there for 11 minutes of weightlessness above the atmosphere, and you thought about your grocery list and whether you had remembered to tell your assistant to reschedule a meeting. You have visited 14 countries this year. You own property on 3 continents. You have donated more money than your parents' combined lifetime earnings to institutions that send you very nice letters and name rooms after you. You have everything. And the sentence you keep returning to at 2 in the morning in a hotel suite that costs more per night than most people earn in 6 months is this: I do not feel like more of a person than I did before. Day 350. 15 days left. You have $18 million left to spend. $18 million in 15 days. That is $1.2 million per day, barely above your original target. In theory, this is easy. You know how to spend $1.2 million in a day. You have done it hundreds of times. But something is different now. The deadline is close enough that it has become real again, and the reality of it has forced a question you have been successfully avoiding for 11 months. What exactly were you spending for? Not for the things. You know that now in a way you did not know it on day 1. You have things. You have more things than you will ever use, see, or think about. The apartment in Italy has been visited twice. The watches are in a drawer. The painting you bought on day 2 is in storage because you ran out of wall space and never went back to find more. The things were never the point. You were spending for the feeling. That specific chemical, human feeling of becoming, of moving from one version of yourself to a larger, more significant version. The purchase was never about the object. It was about the story the object told you about who you were turning into. And somewhere around day 30, the story stopped being believable because you had already become the person who could buy anything. And that person, it turns out, has the same fears, the same insomnia, the same low-grade sense that something important is being left undone as the person who could buy nothing. Day 365. December 31st. Your final balance is $240,000. You have 17 hours to spend it. You transfer $200,000 to a foundation you set up in month 4. You donate $30,000 to your hometown library. You spend $10,000 on dinner for your family. You sit at the table and watch the people you have known your entire life eat food you could not have afforded 18 months ago, and the dinner feels exactly like every other dinner you have ever had with them. Warm, ordinary. The most real thing that has happened to you all year. The balance hits zero at 11:47 p.m. And here is what the thought experiment reveals, stripped of the fantasy. The number was never the problem and never the solution. Spend $1 million a day for a year, and what you discover is not the freedom you were promised. What you discover is the ceiling of desire, which is lower than everyone believes. The ceiling of novelty, which the human nervous system burns through in roughly 30 days. The ceiling of becoming, which is the quiet, devastating realization that identity cannot be purchased because identity is not a product, it is a practice. The billion-dollar problem is not arithmetic. You now know that with complete certainty. It is not a logistics problem. It is not a management problem. It is an identity problem. An identity does not care how much money is in your account. It only cares about what you do with the time. That is the number nobody talks about, not the million, not the billion. The time. You had 365 days. And the question that will follow you out of this thought experiment is not how you spent the money. It is how you spent the days.